Hello, I am Darius Afchar and this is my paper, a Fourier explanation of AI music artifacts. And this is a joint work with Gabriel Meseguer-Brocal, Kamil Akesbi and Romain Hennequin. So, music generative AI designates a technology that helps make music, but by that, more realistically, what they mean is that you type a prompt and you get an audio file. So this is a very streamlined process. There is not that much control in the intermediary steps. Then you're either happy and you accept the music track, or you can try to renegotiate another one by changing your prompt, which doesn't always work. So this technology has been pitched as being positive, inevitable, and democratizing music. But again, if you're a bit more realistic, this is part of the current Gen AI bubble and trend and imbued with a corporate interest and technoliberal ideologies. But looking past these ideologies, the implementation of Gen AI is a threat for creators and real musicians in our case. And it is estimated that 24% of their revenues are at risk in the next few years. And beyond this report, it's also an issue of how they were created in the first place. Because to train their model, popular services for audio generation like Suno or Udio have scrapped copyrighted work of the artists without their consent, which is perceived by artists as a theft and led to several ongoing lawsuits. And of course, beyond the significant ecological and social impact of Gen AI, there is this AI slop invasion because, spoiler, this work has led to putting in production an AI music detector at Deezer and to displaying a label to users on album pages. And what we found was that at least 30% of daily uploads to our platform were AI generated, mostly by Suno. And on those tracks, more than 70% of streams are done by bots. So it's AI music listened to by AI, a sort of scheme to get royalties away from real human musicians. Another issue with this submersion with AI content is that they tend to misrepresent cultures, amplify biases, and propagate a very Western-centered type of cliché and stereotype on music. Just a quick point on having trained on copyrighted data, I just wanted to mention that this is not speculative, this is now acknowledged by these companies, but this is argued to fall into the fair use of data. So, which is of course one point of debate on the ongoing lawsuits, but also within the regulation that are put in place as the European AI Act. So we wanted to detect these AI music generations, which is also in line with the upcoming European AI Act on Transparency. And this is related to the topic of deepfake detection, voice spoofing, or even more largely, synthetic media forensics. But this is also a direct follow-up from a previous work we did, where we first explored AI music detection, and which was published at Akesbi. Quickly, in this previous work, we found that it was easy to create a synthetic music detector with almost perfect classification score, but that these detectors were not robust to various audio manipulations. So this is what hinted us to think that there might be artifacts that are easy to detect, and we wanted to characterize what they were and to better understand why the robustness is, for instance, better on time stretching and worse on pitch shifting, or why changing the EQ doesn't affect the performances at all. So, in this paper, what we propose is a sort of theoretical analysis or an interpretability study, if you will. We wanted to ask these questions. So, what is so specific about Gen AI music and generators? What do AI detectors detect, actually? What do they rely on? What are the cues? So first, to give an intuition before diving into the proof part, but of course for the proof part you can read the paper and we can discuss it at the poster. Okay, so in the scope of this paper, what we study is music generators that are prompt to music, so starting from a text, embedding it into a space, and then using several transverse convolution, because this is like the dominant paradigm now in machine learning, and then generating a sound that is thousands of values per second. And just to give some context on the transpose convolution, because this will be the core of our proof, many people know what this is, but you can think of it as a tiling operation. And the point we wanted to make here is that because you never learn perfectly, there are always approximation errors. If the tiler, so the transpose convolution, makes errors, what we want to put forward is that these errors will be repeated periodically. So the intuition is to say that, okay, if you have errors in your training procedures, these errors are periodical in nature. And so coming back to the context of a track, these periodicities should be present throughout the track. So that may be a way to understand the type of artifact that we have. Coming to the proof part, so first, a very useful property is to underline that a deconvolution or transpose convolution is equivalent to E0 completion between values plus a one-strided convolution. So this may be going a bit fast, but you can, of course, check the paper to have the full proof of this property and to better understand it. And then, if you implement this property within a Fourier analysis of convolutional network, which is convenient because it has many simplifying properties. For instance, a convolution in the time domain turns into a multiplication in the frequency domain. We can demonstrate, and you can check the equation later, that when you use a upsampling convolution or transpose convolution, you will replicate or periodize the spectra of what is found into these hidden layers, which can create some spiking artifacts due to the replication of the continuous component. So this is an example with the first deconvolution layer of encodec. And accumulating this artifact layers after layers into a generator, you will create this sort of spiky fractal shape in your synthetic music, which is a shape that we can predict from the architecture parameters, and very importantly, that is independent from the trained weights or the data used to train the model, which is interesting. And okay, so first what we did is then confirm these properties on real data and real generator, and sort of closing the gap between the theoretical result and what's happening when you have lot of non-linearities and various more complex models. So we could confirm this training data and learned weight independence. And we found that looking for this spiky fractal that I was mentioning, it was super efficient to classify a music with almost perfect accuracy scores as being generated or being genuine. And doing so essentially with only a linear regression, because when you know what you're looking for, it's easy to find those. And so this was not the goal in the first place to have an accurate detector. We just wanted to interpret why there were artifacts. But along the way, we found that just finding this kind of artifact was enough to classify the AI music perfectly. But more importantly, we now have an interpretable model that is linear and a theory underlying that can be used to understand its failure cases. So that's the gist of it. And of course, there are many more unsolved problems, and of course, legal and political issues around that. The question of what if we have hybrid music between real and synthetic music? Do we detect that still? And all of that is part of the future work. Anyway, come to the poster if you're interested. So I'm not attending physically this year, but Gabriel and Kamil, or even Benjamin, my colleague, is here to answer all of your questions. I am sure that they are super fresh from the jam session from yesterday, and they will be super happy to go with you through all the mathematical proof. They are super solid on that, and I'm sure up to their top-notch performances.